How you doing, everybody? Happy Wednesday. It's time for AfroEconomics Live. I love this topic today. if I'm allowed to love my own topic, yeah, this is vital. I'm gonna tell you. I wanna let me do this. Ooh, it's cool not to have on the AC until you do something that you might get hot. I think it's a little warmer today. I'm in Virginia. Where are you all? Give me some feedback. We're talking about these school loans, higher education loans. I'm telling you, I was watching this little video the other day, and I'm going to invite you all. I did. I didn't. I'm gonna send the link out to the members because I know these members love this topic. We're having a members only meeting a couple weeks ago, and one of the members, she was I was kind of talking about different skill sets and doing things and becoming wealthy without having to worry about school loans and some other things you could do to get training that would be less expensive. And I could feel the passion. And one of the members, it was like my parents. My parents were like that too. My father was a president of at least two HBCUs. the and so higher education, it wasn't if I was going to college, it was where are you going to college. And I was like, I want to go to the military. And they were adamantly against it. They were like, you can't do it. You can't, you're not strong enough. You're not going to be able to do that. You won't last. You won't make it. Because I had a sibling that had gone to one of the academies. And so I was like, I would like to do that. And they weren't having it. So when I finished school, I ended up with school loans. And I remember there was even a plus loan. So I had my own loans, and then also my parents had plus loans because of their income. And fortunately, I went in state, but I wanted to go to another school that was out of state. But at the last minute, um, the out of state school, Howard was my first choice. But Howard sent a letter and said, like, we don't have any housing for you. And I applied early. It was the only school I applied to at that point. And then I ended up, my counselor told me about University of Virginia. She said, you know about University of Virginia? And I was like, no, I've never heard of it. she said, you've never heard of University of Virginia? And I was like, no, I mean, if it wasn't an HBCU, I didn't know it existed. That's amazing. There's so many kids now that they don't know that HBCUs exist. Someone was talking about that. I don't know on what video it was, but they were talking about like these professional athletes that had never heard of a HBCU, historically Black college and university. And like my history with them goes back so far that my father's dissertation was before it was called HBCUs. They were called predominantly Black colleges and universities. So it was like so we have a long history in that. But I saw a video. So anyway, I did end up at the last minute applying to University of Virginia, and fortunately they were able to find housing. But I didn't get to have undergrad housing. It ended up putting me with upper class students because that was the only housing that was available. But I often feel like because I was that was the only housing that I could get, and I wasn't able to have fun like with the other people that I met that were in first year. They were having a lot of fun without me. And so I've never drank, never smoked. And I think that, it probably might have been a little bit different. I might not be able to say that if I had been in the proper housing. So I tell you that to say that my parents never felt bad about it. No, never. It was like you should have got a full scholarship. You were the one that was, wanted to be Miss Class President and Miss this and that, so you didn't get a full scholarship because my sibling before me got a full scholarship um, to Howard, and UVA didn't offer me any money, and but I was accepted and I paid for it, and I worked 3 jobs to get through. And relative to a private school, University of Virginia was very cheap, much cheaper than Howard University, and it had all the tools that I needed. So it wasn't where I wanted to go, but I think that at that point, I started learning that's the purpose of school, the purpose of college. I never saw college as a party experience. I saw college as this is what I've got to do in order to get equipped to take care of myself. So I was working, I was carrying a huge course load, 15, and I don't think that you had to pay, like you could buy the semester back then. And I don't think it cost me more to take 18 credits than to take 12 credits. But I think now, like if you take 12, I know in my PhD program, the more I take, the more I pay. It's not like a flat charge for each quarter. And so, that, but I appreciate now looking back that my parents made me be accountable for it. They made me pay that plus loan when I graduated, and I paid it back completely. How you doing, Miss Davis? I'll put the link in there, Miss Davis, if you feel like coming in today and saying hi to everybody and talk about how you pay for school. I know you probably got a full scholarship because you just that tight, got the full scholarship for school. But you know, according to all these millions that are in default, a lot of people are not getting full scholarships. It looks like there's more people like me than people that are getting the full scholarships. And I think that you should not feel hesitant to say, hey, you got to pay this loan back. I have a lot of clients who, now what I've been doing with my daughter is like paying, you know, thank God. But it made a big difference when she decided to finish in Virginia versus finishing at Penn State. In Virginia, she was able to explore different majors. At Penn State, her exploration was getting very, very expensive. So we have to make that, and we had to negotiate that. And I was like, would you consider, it's Miss Nixon. Exactly. I had to ask her, like, could I say to my sons, I need info to transfer my parent plus loan, girl. I know that's right. All my dad did was they had books, they had payment books back then. My dad took that payment book and handed that book over. And if I was late and they had called, because they were going to call them, my mother would call and say, your daddy said they called. And the funny thing is that they weren't like that. Like they co-signed on some of their grandchildren, and they they weren't like that. Like about them having to take over and stuff like that. Like, it's funny. Parents versus children versus grandchildren, huh? But I did a lot of that without me knowing. I would have told my parents, don't co-sign on anything. Yeah, exactly. I don't know what BOG and SEOG means, Ms. Davis, but I'm gonna tell you some of this news on these plus loans. I took notes and I said, what really impacts those of you watching right now the most is, the plus loans. I had a client She signed the plus loan for her grandson. She had recently retired. She was they took her to court because um nobody was paying the loan, and she had to move out of her house in with the son who did not sign the plus loan, had to move in with the son and his wife because they were garnishing her social security check for the amount of the plus loan. Yes, and I don't know if it's called a garnisher, but they take, because garnisher is generally probably through payroll, but they will take your money from your social security. Yes, they take the money from the social security. So when they say we have all these people that they're to go and collect from, that the collections have been held off for 5 years, Parent Plus loan borrowers that are in default face the full range of government collection powers, including wage garnishment and Social Security offsets. That's what it's called. And tax refund offsets. There is no limit on the government's collection on Parent Plus loans that go into default. Parent Plus defaults occur when borrowers fail to make payments on their loans for an extended period of time. Here's a breakdown of what you need to know about Parent Plus loans. It says Parent Plus loans default after 270 days. They default can seriously damage the credit score of the parent and lead to a wage garnishment or tax refund seizure. You can lose eligibility for federal benefits. And they contact the loan servicer immediately if a payer or the parent or anyone is actually unable to make that payment. Yes. Like they will. This lady one time, she was telling me she had gone back to school. Or we see our higher education specialist came in, Mr. Barton, thank you. And now Weeda gonna try to come in because she like to see you in those tight pants. But no. She's disrespectful, Weeda. You stay out there. Don't come in now. So plus he's sitting down. So I tell you but y'all will know what I'm talking about. We call Mr. Barton a supermodel, but he is most importantly a higher education specialist. He did that the whole time. Now he consults people on joining AfroEconomics, how to get them loans straight. Exactly. Let JB take it from here. How you doing, Twyla? Yeah, so I wanted to say before Mr. Barton walks in the room, like that there has been a promise from this administration not to mess with Medicare, not to mess with Medicaid, not to mess with Social Security unless they're reducing the taxes on it. But they're looking for fraudulent people in all those situations. There's people who are fraudulently getting those benefits, but that's not. But over and over, we hear our politicians talk about they're going to cut Medicare. They're going to cut Medicaid. He said it out of his mouth. And then people will say, well, he's lying. Okay, then do that. Do that. But when you do that, it's like you are putting down your arms and about to get punched in the face. Because what we should be focusing on is higher education, is the collection on these school loans, is the changing in the forgiven loan policy. See, but we don't have anybody, none of our politicians talking about the truth, about what is really going to be a problem for the Black community. Instead, they're real busy, KC, They're real busy. And like Casey, I should send you the link too. I put it out there for y'all. Thank you, Mr. Barden, for using it. Here's the link for members to come into the studio. If you are frustrated about the changes that are going to happen in higher education loans. I don't know if Mr. Barden has heard about it, but they said it's going to be some changes up in here. But what are we doing, Twyla? What are they doing? They're going around worried about people who are here illegally. They're worried about collecting people and going overseas to pick up people. When you actually, if you even want to take that angle, you got a whole bunch of Black people that are locked up, that are wrongfully locked up, that did not get due process, couldn't afford it. Y'all can focus on that. But no, we're not going to focus on that. I even saw Michelle Obama the other day talking about her final words were about people here illegally. Meanwhile, the entire higher education process of being even approved for the loan is being changed. So we're being freaking sideswiped again. Looking over at something where they said, well, you know, we're not going to change that. Matter of fact, we ain't worried about that. We're going over here. We're about to tear y'all Social Security check up. We're about to get y'all highly educated Negroes. We're going to get y'all good because you going to pay that back. And you sitting there thinking that forgiveness applies to you. You need to know we're changing the criteria, and none of your little Booker T or Mika T or Kwame and Swame and none of them even care about it. Nobody in Congress with a Black face has mentioned the change in the education procedure and the impact that is going to have on our communities. We're already coming out of college with minimum wage. Studies have shown Black people going to college don't come out making a lot of different kind of money. But yet the higher education, these loans are killing our credit. We can't afford to pay it back because you still got a minimum wage job. I'm telling you, studies have shown it. So now they don't even have trade in our schools. Because what? Our Congress people are not going there working on getting trade skills back into the schools. When I went to school, you could learn to be a mechanic. You could learn to be a hairdresser. All them people make over $100,000. And they, now you got to get a school loan to do that. Did you know that, Mr. Barden?
Well, yes, you're right there. The push to everybody going to college, in many cases, the vocational programs have been removed from what we call comprehensive high schools, and so it has impacted the ability to learn those skills at the high school level. One of the things I think a lot of parents should consider is that community colleges, and in some states they may be called junior colleges.
That's right.
But those colleges have those vocational programs, but of course it's at a cost. But that's an opportunity to learn those building trades that you mentioned earlier, like electricity, carpentry, brick masonry. So those kinds of things, those jobs pay very well. HVAC, air conditioning, refrigeration. They play plumbing. They pay very well.
That's right.
And you don't have to pay the expense of a traditional university or college. So,
right.
Yeah, so I concur with you with that.
That's right. He said, and just that, and it's limited to that. He said, I concur with you to that. Did you all hear that? I love it. You should have been a lawyer like your son. Exactly. With that. So don't think just because I'm here that I agree with everything that she says. That's why she didn't put me on camera. She didn't want me to say nothing.
That's true.
I know what she's doing. Twyla, I set him up. He's like, I love education. I know. So let me get this. Let me get my political rant out right now. What in the world are they doing? He's like, I'm sorry, she don't have me in there. I'm sure they're working on it. I know that's what you would say. It's about to be an issue for them. They are going to take care of it, JB. But it's like this is on CNB see website highlight today. I couldn't have planned it any better. I had no idea. Actually, it's yesterday. I still haven't seen anybody black come out and say, "Oh my goodness, this overhaul is terrible." You know what I'm saying? Have we? No. Slash repayment options, overhaul the student loan system. They're probably going to increase the criteria. I don't know. We're making stuff, but they can do anything because what? People aren't paying the loans back. So their whole agenda is now they not thinking like we thinking, well, black folks don't pay their bills. See, we gotta stop thinking that way. There's a whole bunch of white people who cannot pay their bill.
True.
Right? It's a struggle. It's 5 million borrowers in
Right.
default. That's more white people than black people in default.
There are.
We
True.
gotta assume that because we only represent right. So it's like it's not gonna be like 90% us. I mean, it's possible, but I don't see it happening. No, we're not going to school in that type of numbers. Wow, Zach. Joshua Montgomery. Oh, it's so good to hear from you. You still out there? I think you were in Vegas, Nevada, so Arizona last time. That's right. Joshua was like, I know she know me. Let me give her all my names. Like, exactly. Good for you. Good to see that, Joshua. Hang in there, man. Don't give up. Don't give up. So it says House Education and Workforce Committee Republicans have released their plan to overhaul the country's student loan and financial aid system. Pell Grant eligibility would come with new requirements.
Yeah.
Look, see now this. But we still over there talking about, oh, you in law succeed? Act like you think I didn't remember you. Told you I remember you. This is news, but they're still over there talking about taking out illegal people who've broken the law, immigrants. Literally, they're totally focused. I mean, we are the most sympathetic, empathetic people in the earth. Meanwhile, your child might not even be able to go to college.
Well, as you said earlier, they have to find a way to generate more revenue or cut costs. And so
Yeah.
they're gonna do both with these proposed policies coming from that particular committee, because one way to cut costs is to restrict eligibility. So
Yes.
students who may have and families who may have applied before won't, based on some of the proposed eligibility criteria by this committee.
And check it out. It says down here, it says they're going to look borrowing cap of $50,000.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of people wish, I know y'all wish they had that cap before, but that cap would have stopped you from being able to go back.
Right.
You might have got to your third year with 50 grand. They say, look, you got your loan max. That's it. So the way they see it is they're helping people from ruining their credit, because it's obviously people can't do this. But Twyla, the way they see it is they're helping you. They're helping you because you're hurting yourself. The way we see it is, somebody like Biden gonna come in there, he gonna get rid of all the loan. What did Biden do? It was like $10,000. Most black people have way more than 10,000 they owe. Biden did the 10 grand because on average, that was the white people's balance. Black folk have 30, 40, 50,000. So we got to figure this out on our own. It's not their fault, because they're right. We should not be ruining our credit to go to college. We have to figure out another way. We have to figure out how we're going to save ourselves.
Well, one
Yes.
thing that I think that families should have the conversation early about college, if
Yes.
they want to go to college. But like I
Yes.
said earlier, there are other
Yes.
options like community colleges. One of the things I want to caution people about is proprietary schools. These are the schools that
The private ones.
yeah, and they're private, and
Mm-hmm.
and they cost are much higher, but they aren't staggering admissions, so you can sort of apply at any time and start school.
Oh, because it's
Yeah.
like, why they charge so much more? Like my PhD program. It was funny. It was funny. Like one of my clients, she was like, well, at least you ain't going to one of them schools like Walden. And I was like, yeah, actually I am. She was like, oh, snap. But I ain't giving them no commercial. But it is a lot. It gets a lot. A lot of people go there because I went there because this family member got his PhD there. And my mother was like, that ain't no real PhD program. You don't do it like your dad did. It doesn't really count. She wasn't playing. She was like, that is stupid. I don't understand. But I couldn't do it. My father was able to leave. He had a scholarship. Again, these good ass students. He had a scholarship and they and a grant, and DuPont paid for him. He kept his salary. Delaware State, DuPont gave a grant or whatever it was, you know what I mean, to Delaware State
Yeah.
to get more black PhDs or whatever
Ex-
at that time.
Right.
And then my dad did it. And then he had to work there for whatever number of
Right.
years afterwards.
Hmm.
But look, I'm an entrepreneur. I couldn't do that. I couldn't. I could not. I could not. Even if it were local, before online. So I think that they know that, and that's probably why it's so expensive. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
they know because the most of my program, I don't think the people even live in America.
Well,
I don't.
the cost at proprietary schools, it's higher because they don't have the subsidy of a state university. For
Yep.
example, if you were doing that same program at
Mm,
University of Virginia or
mm,
Virginia Tech or you know,
yep.
yeah, or
They
VCU.
look. They would have kicked me out a long time ago. No, the only difference, they'd be like, "What is wrong with this person? Oh, is she? Is she trying?" They would call me into the office like they did. The lady said to me the other day, "It really appears that you are really doing well this quarter. I'm glad to see you try." I was so proud of myself. but but think of, but I mean, you notice, I think, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they still have the same, requirements, but I just think that if I was in a traditional program, it would be, they probably would be a little bit more strenuous, I think.
It'd
Than
be
teachers.
cheaper if it'd be cheaper,
Yeah, it'd be
sure.
cheaper, but yeah, but it'd
Yeah,
be more strenuous.
but
Yeah.
maybe it's more strenuous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cause like I'll take two, then I'll take one, then I'll take two, then I'll be like, I don't want to do this class anymore. Then I'll fail the class. Then they let me take it again. You
right,
know what I'm saying? And
right.
then it's like and once I figured out that they would let me fail the class, see, and if you got money, then you just go ahead and you just fail the class. It's ignorant. It's just ignorant. Don't do that. It's
Right.
just bad. I would have never, as a child, if I never saw F. How I get to this old, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm cool with F. Like, it's just crazy. But sometimes I think I need it. I needed it. Like in this last, I only have one class left. So I got to the last two and it got really, really hard. But I have money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like you can't do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Don't even let your kids even hear this video. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't do it. You cannot do it. And even with that F, I still had a GPA over 3.2. It had to stay over 3.0.
Right.
Like,
Right.
so they do have, you know what I mean, a criteria. They will kick you out. And you do have, a certain amount of time that you have to finish it. And that's probably because they have to do that in order to keep accreditation. They're probably like, we would love to let you just keep doing whatever you want, but you're going to pay us, but for accreditation's sake, because they are accredited.
Right.
But for parents, like I was saying, like that's only my name. I'm spending my money.
Right.
I don't go on vacation.
Right. Right.
Look, class costs as much as like a cruise. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah. Like, no, we can go on a cruise with that. But I'm single and I don't have anybody saying, like, are you crazy? Do your work. I'll be like, I want to go to track practice. I don't feel like it. But don't play with your finances like that. If you're signing someone else's loan, and
Right.
they're not taking it seriously, you
Right.
know what I'm saying? Or they just are trying to do too much. I'm an example of trying to do too much. No,
Yeah.
so it's like if they're trying to do, don't hurt your financial future. Just think about my client who had to sell her house because they were taking her money out of her social security.
Right.
This other lady, she came in, she was like, my social security about to start. It was a free consultation. And she said, yeah, I just finished my master's. And guess how much, Mr. Barton, her loan balance was? Master's
What's that?
in theology. She didn't even have a church. And it's a master's. Guess, just guess. And this was 10 years ago. Guess what it was? Her balance.
25,000.
$200,000.
Wow.
I'm not exaggerating.
Wow.
I said, sis, they'll take your social security, right? She said, what? She was working, she wasn't even working in ministry. I said, yeah, they will take your social
Wow.
security. She had no idea. We'd have guessed 100. Nope, you were wrong. The price, it was 200. We'd.
Well, I think one thing that whether it's a parent or an individual or whatever, you need to look at the return on that investment. And
Yes,
when I say return on investment, if it costs you $200,000, well, what in a job situation or employment situation, your business situation, will the return on that investment be? And if you can't reasonably come up with a figure, then you ought not do that.
that's right. And you remember a lot of the loans that were going to be forgiven, they've now just frozen. Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
Like they're just frozen. So now that committee is looking at it and you're about to get that notice.
Yep.
And it's like, I don't care if your income is only this and this, you're gonna have to pay this back. And in a way, I think it could be motivating. Maybe it will encourage them to do what you said, Mr. Barton. Look at the return on the investment before. I'm not working at a church. I'm not, doing it. So she's going back to school, you know, to do that. But does that really, make you a minister now? Like, or could you be focusing and investing that 200,000 in your
Right.
own ministry?
Right. Right.
Goodness gracious. She could have had her own church. She could have, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's only you do it because like she didn't have to come up with it, So she's just like, well, I'll just do it and do it and do it, and it keeps adding up. No, but like you said, you have to make that work for you.
Yeah.
You have to, be committed to. Oh, okay, I'm gonna. Look, I have to get over here to be in it. So that
Mhm.
I have to make sure that this is going to pay off somehow. What kind of salary am I going to make?
Exactly.
What kind of opportunities has my church really asked me to go into $200,000 worth of debt?
True. Right.
$112 billion are owed in Parent Plus loans.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
112 billion.
And I think part of it as it relates to parents, and like I said, I know we all want the best for our kids, and I never get into a situation about what a parent shouldn't or shouldn't do. I
Mm,
lay out all the parameters, and but I
mm.
think sometimes we get guilt into kids going to a particular college that we know we can't afford.
That's
And
right.
I've sat there at a college on college campuses watching the parent and the student struggle
That's right.
with year one.
That's
So if
right.
year one is a
That's
struggle,
right. That's right.
then how's this going to work for two,
That's
three, and
right.
four?
That's right.
Yeah,
That's exactly the truth though. And I would just say that like, okay, when my daughter was at Penn State, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, oh, this is nice.
right.
It's nice, you get bragging rights. Oh, you're Penn
Yeah,
State, blah, blah.
right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, when she came home, I was like, will you please come home? Like, you know what I'm saying? That's a lot.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then you got the travel expense and
Yep.
everything. You're not here, and so much stuff you could, take care of. They're closer to you. And it was humbling, but I said to myself, like, God, give me the strength
Yes.
to just be honest with her.
Right.
Like that, hey, you're doing discovery and stuff, and can you consider, what I'm saying, like coming closer, and then you don't have to have a stress about,
Right.
changing majors. You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? You get the chance to, because a lot, like when I went to school, it was like I got to get the hell out of here. You're like, what I mean? You have this pressure because we
Yeah.
had to get out, like
Right.
and I like that I was able to, I can afford this experience for her.
Right.
But we have to be humble enough to say this will be a lot better for us if
Right.
you would consider doing this,
Exactly.
than this, and she was like, okay, you know what I'm saying? But it allows your child to mature to the reality of it. And like you said, the parents are handling, there's a whole bunch of parents that are handling things that they shouldn't have to handle. They should be focusing on their retirement at this
That's
point,
right. That's
and now you have to, worry about that. And I feel like really the children, I didn't want my father to pay for that.
right.
But I think that because they were like, here it is, here it is, here it is, it made me a more responsible person.
Hmm.
If they had brought me up differently, then I mean, and we don't know as parents that we really impact our kids so much. We just really impact our children. Like, and I think that if I had just said, okay, I'm gonna let her stay it there by any means necessary, we have to go after name, and it has to so this and that, then you're making that same Coach bag or Himes bag or whatever those expensive purses are, you're creating that same mentality into a
Right.
generation. And I'm not that person. I'm not materialistic. I don't want her to have debt. I don't want, I don't want her. I believe that, um, like but like when people hear where I went to school, University of Virginia, they think that's a big time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Which my experience was like totally opposite, because that wasn't where I wanted to go.
Right.
I wanted Howard, like, you know what I'm saying? But then I couldn't afford it. So my father gave me that opportunity by telling me, I can't afford for you to live in DC, and they
Right.
don't have a dorm. It is what it is.
Right.
Figure it out.
Right.
And you're going. There's some kids feel like they can give up at that point, and I did not. I went to the school counselor, used my resources, and my dad said, "And you are not coming here." He worked at a college. He's like, "You're not coming here.
Right.
Too political.
Right.
So you gonna go over there? I ain't gonna have no Deion Sanders type stuff. Go on somewhere." Isn't that true though? There is like a Deion like took on a lot. Like, what I'm saying, when you have the kids like there with you at that school, and I believe my father was right. But I could have got straight A's though. I'd be like, yeah, hey, my dad's president. Yeah. You know what it would have done for my GPA? Yeah, what's wrong? You get a B. Are you crazy? You are fine. Wouldn't that have been something? That's
Mm.
probably what he was thinking. She won't do nothing if she can't. They'd be like trying to help her through school. That's true. Or it could have been the opposite where they were way hard on me. Like,
Yeah.
super hard. I got no breaks. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, oh, oh. You're the president's daughter and you can't spell apple? That would happen to me all the time
Mm.
after coming out of UVA. And they go, oh, oh, you went to UVA and you can't spell blah, blah, blah. You so and so. Yeah. Imperfect person I am. I don't know what y'all image of it is. A whole school full of imperfect people. But it's like that whole status thing is what messes up people's heads, and
Yeah.
it's so sad.
Yeah.
And you don't, do you tell people that, like, don't do school because of status?
Yes.
Do
That's
it to where you can
I,
afford
I
a
make this
major?
comparison. I make this comparison. How many people know where their physician went to college?
I know that's right. Isn't that the
and
truth?
where they went to medical school,
So true.
and where they,
A
did
lot of them are
their
offshore medical schools. You see it
right,
when you look at the wall, you be like, where is that? They
right,
can't pronounce the name of the country.
right. So that's the thing. So I'm saying is that you have confidence in the system that this person is qualified, and so it's
That's
the
true.
same type of thing when you look at your financial advisor, or you look at your
True.
dentist, or
True.
whatever. I mean, you have confidence, you
Thank
know.
God they make us get licensed though.
Yeah, well,
Look,
your doctor
look,
has to be
look, look,
licensed, your
because if
dentist
you
has,
don't have a
you have to
license
be
for a
licensed.
USOL, exactly.
Yeah, you have to be licensed, and
That's true.
it's more transparent than most,
That's so true.
professionals who are licensed. I mean, you
So
can
true.
easily,
So
go
true.
online and find out exactly when
So
you got
true.
your license,
So true. Any complaints and this and that.
any
That's right.
complaints,
That's
anything
so
on you,
true.
what didn't go well or
So
whatever.
true.
So I'm saying is that yours is even more
It's
transparent,
so true.
than most professions.
But ain't
So
nobody going in there looking for UVA though. You know what I'm saying?
that's
Nobody going in there looking at where I'm
that's
getting my
right.
PhD. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
No. Isn't it
Exactly.
true? But like you
Exactly.
told me, you encouraging me to complete my PhD, like it seems applies. Where did your professor go to school?
That's right. That's exactly
They
right.
don't even know.
Yeah.
Walden. I'm just joking now, but they probably do it a lot online programs now. And the professor went to an online program. Like,
Yep. One of the most esteemed professors at Harvard got his PhD from University of Kentucky.
really, exactly.
So
Because
I mean,
because that lady from Harvard, where did that lady that they fired that she quit? And they checked out her PhD and it had errors in it. Where did she go?
I don't know where. Yeah, the black woman who was
Yeah,
gay.
she didn't go to Harvard though, did she?
I don't
Really?
know. I don't know. I don't know.
They probably wouldn't have done it to her. That would have been real bad if they checked behind their own school. Look at this. Get out of here.
Mm,
That is crazy. But look, well, with this AI, like you said, we can check everything.
that's true. That's true.
You can
Everything.
check. Yes, we can find this stuff out. You can check on is there really going to, like what is really being done about this revamping? And it is right out there.
Yep.
If they're going to change
Mhm.
the criteria for getting these payment plans, do not go to school based on your loan is going to be eliminated when the
No.
Democrats are back in the office.
No.
Don't do that.
No.
Don't do that.
No.
Because the whole program will be changed and they will accept it because you don't hear nobody complaining about it.
One thing that you said earlier, I think that if you find yourself in a
Mm.
situation that you can't afford the payments or whatever,
Mm,
stay in touch with your loan servicer.
mm.
Don't ignore
That's
those,
right.
those
Exactly.
statements.
Exactly. Don't click. Don't click cancel.
Right,
Don't hit
right.
the red button because that's the school loan people up. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. No, don't do that, because the things that you talked about are
Mm.
real. It can
And look,
damage your
look. At
credit.
least if you got a garnishment coming, you need to know you can change your job.
Right.
Whatever. You need to
Yeah.
know these things. You need to know
Yes.
how it's so true, but it has to be hard to face up to it.
Right. Right.
It, re-
It
it,
is.
re- it really does. It really does. Like I remember a time I was and I'm not one to do a joint tax return, but this one time I did a joint tax return, and the person I was with, old school loans, and that was my money. They took all that return.
Yep.
I was totally caught off guard.
Yeah.
But what did I learn from that? No matter how much you love them, don't do no joint tax return. You thoroughly check that credit check. Don't matter, they're not paying no bills. That don't mean nothing. You went to college. Okay. What's the status of them loans? Check it out. Isn't it true? You know how many people that happens to? Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness, I would like to do a survey. Like, have you ever been sideswiped? You found out in the first year of your marriage that they owe money. Look, matter of fact, they don't owe any money anymore because you took your taxes.
Right. Right.
Now they debt free and they leave you. Exactly. You done corrected their credit. That's okay. As long as everybody is better for it, you're good. Just keep on moving. Like, yeah, but that is real.
But
They
you
will.
raised a good point. You raised a good point. One of the things you can do, if you can prove to the IRS that that's not
Mm,
all of my debt, you have a
right.
hardship situation that you can apply, but
Well,
you
what they
got to
call like
appeal it though.
spouse, innocent spouse, right?
Yes,
Innocent spouse. I never
yes,
thought of. I always think about innocent spouse for the
yes.
tax bill, but innocent spouse on the loan would be
On the
even
student loan.
easier to prove. That's
Yes,
even easier to prove because
exactly.
on the tax one, they can say, nah, both of y'all did that to get, you know what I mean? Nah, nah, nah. But but I guess if it was before, but on the school, yeah, that would have. See how nice I am? Took it like a champ. Took it like a champ. You straight. That's what you need to do. I didn't even look around, but I've known a person where that happened with child support, and I like it. They will get that too. If you marry someone, they're behind on child support. They will take those tax returns if you do a joint return.
Mm-hmm.
So we have members who do marriage counseling, and one of the first things that they say is check credit. So if you check each other's credit, then you will know what's out there. You know what I'm saying? Then you will know that situation. You know, you've
Well,
seen
the
that
only
happen
thing
to
that
people
student
that
loans don't supersede is child support. I mean, if you owe
mm,
IRS money, if you owe whatever you owe, it
mm,
goes to the front of the line for everything except
well,
child support.
yeah, it's hard to get that innocent spouse
Yeah.
on child support, right? But
Mhm.
I think they do let you fill it out though.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think I'm not sure if she got it back, but after that, they just don't file together. But exactly. If I would give it on the school, I would have given it on. I got a soft spot about child support. I
Right.
can't imagine if I met somebody and they were. I wouldn't even like them. That would be like the first thing. Like, where are you in your status? Do you feed your kids? Do you talk to your kids? How often do you see them? I love babies. Like, you know what I'm saying? It would be the school. I remember this little girl told me. She said, "My daddy, he brought me home to his home to see his children, and they were in a whole nother state, and they were little girls, and I'm still friends with this little girl. She saved my life, and she said, my daddy ain't no good."
Mm.
I said, what? She said, don't marry him. He ain't no good. I said, what? She was very, very pressed. I mean, literally, I owe her a lot for this. Like, she was probably about 12, not 13. You know what I'm saying? Young. Like, now she's like almost 30. But she saved me. She saved me. I don't know if you watching, but she said, because she's my Facebook friend, but she said, he don't send us nothing. He don't sew us a girl. I wanted to run. I was out of state though. I wanted to run out of there. Like, I was like, what in the world? Oh my goodness. Like, yeah, but oh, that's a funny story. So y'all don't let anybody mess with the kids. Like, check that. Don't play with that. If they owe it, say we're not getting married till you get them straight. Get it straight. That's just too much to have out in the atmosphere. Mm. And then, yeah, but I just love children. From the mouth of babes, exactly, Mr. Barber. Exactly. God has protected me so much. I mean, we got to look at our life and realize how protected we are. But I tell you, loud this time, that God will bless us with somebody like Mr. Barber. Mr. Barber, yes, thank you. Bless, but Mr. Barden on our team. I really appreciate you, Mr. Barden. I just think this is a vital discussion. The student loan system is being overhauled. Let's watch it. Let's see how it is going to impact you. Um, definitely get involved with AfroEconomics on all your financial goals
Yep.
because you have young children, Let's address that. But I'm gonna tell you, you come to me and you go, I'm not maximizing my 401k because I want to so and so and so. I'm gonna tell you, you cannot get a loan for retirement.
That's right. That's right.
We can figure it out for college, but you can't get no loan for retirement. So if I gotta tell you, just know now, my priority for you is you being financially secure for your future, not being a burden to your children. As Mr. Barden said, we can go to college. We can go to college anywhere. They can go to the community college and then transfer. They can do, but we can make that work. We can get them the training that they need, but take your retirement seriously. But great. So maybe next week we'll talk about retirement. But this week is on them school loans. Things are changing. A lot of people starting Monday, they're going to be collecting again. If they've been calling you to warn you, let them know. Right? Let them know. How does yours come up? Your Joe Barden comes up as JB when you close out. Isn't that cute? That's cute. 2 JBs today, y'all. God bless y'all. Any additional questions, let me know. Oh, thank you, Miss Davis. You continue to heal. Miss Davis is healing that arm. Continue to heal. You'll be stronger than ever with your bionic arm. Yes, indeed. You will have the best shoulder in Georgia. Y'all be blessed. Let me know if I can help. I'm just a call away. I am JB Bryan, JB at 1-844 JBBRYAN, 1-844 JB Bryan. Check out all of the free videos on YouTube and our AfroEconomics with JB Bryan channel. Check them out. This will be stored there as well. Thanks for the chat. Thanks you for the chat. Casey Chats. Thank you. I thank God for all of you. May we be inspired to do better. Let's talk to your representatives, whoever's your political candidate. Write them, email them, say, hey, we need to be doing everything that we can to make sure that our children continue to get the education. This is about foresight. This is about we can't be victims. Nothing is happening to us. Things are happening for us. If they decide that you can't get any more than $50,000 out in federal backed school loans, there'll be a whole bunch of private lenders out there, and that won't be a good thing either. So, but it's all going to be about what? Discipline. About discipline. So, but changes are being made. But, that's not a bad thing. Right, Mr. Barden? If they cut it down to 50 grand, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It might just be, okay, well, I'll have to stay close to home, like I had to do. That's all that you can afford. Then you do what you can afford.
That's right.
I got out of school with $1,000 on my credit card. Lord knows I thought that was a lot. I talked to this young lady the other day, and she was in her mid-20s, and she had over $15,000 in credit card debt.
Wow.
And then school loans as well.
Woo.
And then the parents had loans also. You know what I'm saying? This stuff is, these things are real.
Yeah.
Because they're coming after you. As soon as you get on campus, they're coming at you with those cards. They're coming at you with those cards. The best thing we can do is only buy what we can afford. That's it. Only buy what you can afford. And that's going to be for the rest of your life. Debt is going to be a challenge for the rest of our lives. But if you get those loans, do that plus loan, or do those loans and think that you're going to be able to hide. No, as soon as you get on Social Security, they come and get you. They're going to hunt you down. They're going to take your check. Isn't that something?
Yep.
That's federal government money that you put away that you gave them. They're going to come and get it. Yeah. Ain't no nah, Ms. Wilkerson. Yeah. They will come and get it.
That's true.
So the school loans, in a way, become part of a retirement planning.
Yes.
Keep them right. Keep it tight. All right.